What do I think were the top 5 worst or most disappointing figures of 2023 were? Let's find out. So what is going on, my fellow collectors? How is everybody doing today? Daredevil19 here, and today we are going to go over what I think were the top 5 worst or most disappointing figures of 2023 were. I'm just going to go by what figures I got this past year that just weren't well made or had poor design choices or horrible articulation or QC issues and more. For me, there were two main and big figures that were just poorly executed and extreme letdowns and just disappointments. But for now, we are going to start it off with a quick honorable mention, and that is a figure that wasn't incredibly horrible, but out of everything I got, it was a pretty big disappointment to me, and that is the Best Action IDW Shredder. And this was, like, I believe the Walmart exclusive version, where instead of it just being a red cape, he had maroon instead. But when this and the regular version were first announced, I was really excited for this because I love Shredder and I love the IDW comic versions of Shredder along with the Turtles. So hearing Best Action or the Loyal Subjects working on this line was great news. The Turtles turned out pretty good with some QC issues here and there, and with this Shredder, there was another QC issue, which is the bicep swivel not fully connected, or the right arm on mine coming off from articulating the figure. But you just see two gaps at the bicep where it connects to the shoulder. Like, what the heck? I don't know how that got past quality check with these figures, because all of them were like that at my Walmart where I found this figure. Another thing about this Shredder is the pointless torso joint. It literally does not move at all. Barely a centimeter. And the waist swivel is so tight, I can't even use it. It's not an incredibly bad figure and wasn't like super overpriced, but I was very disappointed with it when I opened it up. So that's why I threw it on as an honorable mention. So now starting off my list of worst figures of 2023, coming in at number 5 is a big disappointment. And that is the SH Figuarts Griffith. And I really hope Tamashinations can redeem themselves in 2024 with their Berserk line. Like, how do you drop the ball this bad with the first two figures and biggest characters in the series? It's mind-baffling. So with Griffith, the most disappointing thing that brings down the figure a lot is the price and that stupid pre-posed statue horse. Like, why? Why bother giving him the horse and make it an even more expensive figure? I don't know why they did that. The figure itself, Griffith, isn't that bad. It is still a bit frustrating with some points of articulation when you try to pose him around, and some pieces falling off easily, like the front hair pieces and the faces. And let's not forget about the feet. What in the actual is that about? They're so flat. It's so weird. But I mean, there is some nice things about the figure too. The articulation is pretty good. I do like the silver for the armor, and the hair looks nice with the shading, and the cape is pretty nice too. But man, I just can't get over that goddamn horse. They couldn't even add shading on it. Like, come on, bro. Such a disappointing, overpriced figure. Alright, so now for my number 4. This is another train wreck of a figure, and this is where the figures start getting pretty bad. I mean, Griffith was, but they just get worse and worse. And this is an incredibly overpriced figure for what we got, and that is the Mezco 112 Ghost Rider. Yeah, the cloth clothing is great, and the sculpt detail is definitely there, but the articulation, come on, bro. Are you guys for real over at Mezco Toys with this? Ankle joints are just horrendous. And don't get me started on the neck articulation. That's just a damn swivel, man. Like, come on. Yeah, there's a light up feature for his flaming head, but there are ways you could have gave him more movement at the neck, and same with the ankles. Ghost Rider can't even sit on the bike properly like he's riding on it, and that's the set. Ghost Rider with his bike. Like, it's cool you added the sound effects and light up feature on the bike and stuff, but how are you gonna make a figure set like that and the figure can't even sit on the bike in a sick riding pose? I feel like they were just like, F it, just leave it as it is. I understand that Misco wants to focus on their own properties more, but it's like they don't really care with certain figures, and especially when it's a figure set around 200 to 250 bucks. You should definitely try to put more thought and effort and better engineering into it. This was just another figure that was very disappointing, like Griffith, and the big reason is the price they are charging us for these sets here. It's just not right. So now moving on to number 3. This is just a huge disappointment once again, and this is another SH Figure Arts figure, and it's the No Way Home Green Goblin. Let me just start it off with the elephant in the room. Tamashii Nations. Why is there a goddamn mustache on this dude? Why does he have a freaking mustache? It makes no sense at all. This is the main thing collectors noticed and absolutely hated, including myself. But there's more. The price is just a straight up ripoff, like most of the figures in this list. But another major thing is just a basic stern face we get, but we get 2 different head sculpts, too. So why just the same facial expressions? It's another poor choice by Tamashii Nations. If you're just gonna give us one face, then give us that sadistic smiling face he did throughout the movie that was the psychotic Green Goblin expression that everyone loved. Another decision you question from this company. So since we're talking about the head sculpts, we might as well mention this random line of white paint in the hair. Like, what is this? Why is that on there and in the middle of the hair? I don't get it. Also, when I got this figure, I don't know if anyone else had this issue, but the wrist joints are extremely fragile and thin, and you can just tell. And I knew it was going to give problems when I was swapping the hands. Plus, you have to use force popping the hands on this tiny, thin wrist joint. And as I'm swapping them, which I did multiple times on my figure, and when I popped one of the hands off, the wrist joint just broke off inside the hand. Like, come on, bro. Shaking my head. I'm shaking my head at this. Like, man, what the heck? It felt like some cheap plastic, like what they used on their Guts figure. The articulation on the figure is definitely really well done, and the detail for his armor looks pretty cool, but this Green Goblin is such a huge disappointment. I wish I never pre-ordered this, because it was just a waste of money. And whatever you do as a collector, avoid buying this figure. You'll thank me later. Please don't waste your money on this, and just go with the Marvel Legends version and save yourself over $100. So yeah, he definitely made it at number 3 on my list. Alright, so now we are moving into my top 2, and this is where I start to go on some rants, because these 2 figures were just... So for my number 2, I really wish I didn't have to put this on the list. And that's for every figure on here, but I had to do it with this one. And that is the SH Figure Arts Roanoa Zorro. Man, oh man, what a huge disappointment by Tamashii Nations on this. Like, how do you screw up a Zorro figure this bad? Yeah, the accessories are great and the detail is also very well done, but there is issues with this figure all over. A big issue is the lower portion of the robe. They used a harder plastic compared to the softer rubbery type plastic they usually use for pieces like this, but you cannot articulate his legs. Barely at all. Like, come on, man. And if that's not bad enough, because of the lower robe piece being so thick where it connects at the waist, whenever you use his waist joint, the figure just comes apart there. And it's so goddamn frustrating because it happens every single time. Another joint that likes to pop off is at the bicep swivel, especially the bicep piece you can swap out. Whenever you swivel it, the arm just falls off. No matter how hard you try to peg it in, it just I don't know. It just doesn't peg in properly, or something was screwed up and there's a QC issue. It's annoying. This is not a fun action figure when it should be. Another poor design choice is the robe on the torso being a softer plastic over his torso joint. So you can't even use the torso joint because of the robe. Who in the hell designed this Zorro figure? Tamashii Nations dropped the ball big time here, and once again, I truly hope they can redeem themselves with the East Blue Zorro. He isn't wearing a robe this time around, so there should not be any issues like this at all. This is hands down one of the worst and most disappointing figures of 2023, and I know a lot of collectors agree with this, and truthfully, it just flat out sucks. Zoro is one of my favorite characters in One Piece, and a lot of people's favorites, so this one just really hurt collectors. And same goes for the figure in my number one spot for the worst and most disappointing action figure of 2023, and that is the SH Figuarts Guts. This Guts is probably just one of the most frustrating, annoying figures I have ever had, period. Seriously, this thing is a mess. It's not even fun to pose around. It just gets you so annoyed you don't even want to pose it. That's why my Guts and Griffith are back in their boxes for me. But man, Guts has some issues, and a lot. The first big main issue is the cheap brittle plastic they use for some of the joints. Both my ankle joints broke easier than toothpicks right out the box, and other collectors have experienced breaks on their Guts as well. So right away, off to a bad start already, and I didn't even get into the figure yet. I will say the detail is very nice. I love the way the armor looks, and the faces are so on point. They look just like Guts. But some of the armor pieces like to pop off while articulating the figure, along with the pouches too. This gets so annoying, and I just hate it. Another huge issue is the joints they used for the wrists. They're just straight pegs, so they don't even peg in. You don't hear a pop letting you know the hand is securely pegged in, so what happens? The hands just constantly fall off, which is also super frustrating, especially with Guts having his huge sword, the Dragon Slayer. Like, bro, you do get really cool accessories and everything, but that's not gonna save this figure. And don't get me started on that piece of crap cloth wired cape. The material is just as bad as the material Figma used with their black swordsman Guts. Like, it was like a dryer sheet. It's a horrible type of cloth to use. I don't know who said that's a good choice, but they should be fired. The armor piece on the neck is also very annoying and just gets in the way trying to swap faces or trying to articulate the neck. And the ankle joints also have this looseness to them that the figure can barely stand on his own, which is also super annoying. And the last big main thing is you can't even holster his sword on his back. How did Figma manage to let you do that from 8 years ago, but you guys over at Tamashii Nations couldn't come up with anything to be able to let us holster his sword? I don't get that. This figure was such a huge letdown and just a mess from head to toe. Literally. I wanted to love this figure so bad, and I tried and tried, but the more I tried, the more issues kept popping up. And this is hands down the worst figure of 2023. And let's not forget the price. $90 for this. I'll repeat that. $90 for this SH Figuarts Guts. Tamashii Nations, you really need to fix that upcoming Berserker Armor Guts, because if it's anything like this, I'm not buying it, and 90% of collectors will not give you a penny for it if it's anything like this Guts. I know I won't for a fact. Fix your Berserk line. Sorry, this got me pretty damn heated with the poor choices they made on this figure, because Guts is one of my all-time favorite characters, and you do him and Miura this dirty, shaking my damn head. I hope they fix up the new Guts and the issues they had with specific figures in 2023, because they got so much more competition out there, and they also have a ton of new lines coming out. So There you have it, everyone. My top 5 most disappointing figures or worst action figures of 2023. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments what you think were the worst or most disappointing figures were of 2023 in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, I will catch you on the next episode of Daredevil 19, and I will also see you guys later.
We shall start with revenge.
I am the knight. Gonna change the future.